Welcome to Austin Faith Dialogue and a new year of shows. To start off our year, we're talking about the Austin Adopt a Minefield campaign, trying to bring awareness of this critical international issue to us right here at home. Stay with us for a conversation here on Austin Faith Dialogue.
Austin Faith Dialogue, at the crossroads of religion and life, a series highlighting the cultural and social interactions between the worshiping and religious communities in and around the capital city. Austin Faith Dialogue is brought to you by the Austin Metropolitan Ministries in cooperation with KXAN. Join us now in Austin Faith Dialogue.
We're glad you're here today on Austin Faith Dialogue. I'm Sandy Wilder, your host, and today we have a sobering but necessary conversation about the international scourge of landmines and how we right here in Austin can make a difference. We're talking about the Austin Adopt a Minefield campaign in its last few weeks, unfortunately. But here today to talk with us, Mary Berwick, the United Nations Association past president here in Austin, and Pamela Overeinder from the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. It's good to have both of you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Let me assume, first of all, that not everybody knows how serious the landmine issue is. So, Mary, you can tell us a little bit about what we're talking about.
Yes, well, I'll begin with a few statistics which staggered me when I first heard them. There are, on God's good earth, about 70 to 100 million landmines placed around the globe. There are, throughout the year, because of these landmines, there are people who are maimed, very badly maimed, and of course some people who are killed. About 26,000 or more people, among them 8 to 10,000 children, are maimed or killed each year by landmines. So the United Nations Association is sponsoring this initiative, which is called the Adopt a Minefield campaign, and they focus on 5 particular countries: in Asia, Cambodia and Afghanistan; in Africa, Angola and Mozambique; and in Europe, Bosnia-Herzegovina. And citizen groups in different parts of the United States, because this is what would I say, a sponsorship of the United Nations Association in the United States. There are United Nations associations in other countries, and I've heard that recently Canada has joined, and also the United Kingdom. But it is groups of people in different cities and communities of the United States who take it upon themselves to raise the funds so that these landmines can be cleared, because it is very expensive and difficult, labor-intensive, and also dangerous job. And it takes about $1 to make these little things. We're talking about the little anti-personnel mines, not the big anti-tank mines, but the little ones can cost $1 to $3 to make, and up to $1,000 to remove, when you consider the training of the mine detector and the labor-intensive work that has to be done.
We begin to see the urgency of the task and the fact that ordinary citizens really need to do something. But Pamela, why would people of faith be interested in removing landmines? There are a variety of social issues. Why this one?
Well, Sandy, I cannot speak for all people of faith, but as a Buddhist, we're very concerned about protecting and protecting life, and we take a vow as Buddhists to protect life, all life, and so this is not only do we work to stop war, but we also are aware that war doesn't stop just because the active fighting stops, and as long as we have landmines in the ground, we have war. We still have war, so we're concerned with that.
As I suppose all people of faith are concerned about protecting life,
yes,
however they can. So then, as I understand, Mary, the spearhead here in Austin has been the United Nations Association. Mm-hmm. And why did the UN Association pick up on this particular issue?
Well, when I came to the board of the United Nations Association, or to the presidency of it, in 1999, some members of the board were already talking about the landmine issue, because they were visited, or Austin was visited, by Ambassador Donald Steinberg, who is a former ambassador to Angola, which is one of the countries which has the most incredible infestation of landmines and maimed, crippled people. And Ambassador Donald Steinberg came and was visiting friends here, but he also came because he is the President Clinton's sort of representative for humanitarian global demining, as he calls it. And he asked to meet with some members of the United Nations Association. And the few people he met with were convinced that the group maybe could do something. And when there was a sort of little interregnum, because our former president, Frank Cooksey, who had been president of the local chapter, former mayor of Austin, was out of the country. And so when I took on and went to my first board meeting, suddenly there was this on the agenda, and I had to start learning about it. We said, well, maybe we could do it. And we got in touch with the United Nations Association in New York and learned how you, they tell you where the minefields are. You pick your country, and then they tell you the places, they tell you the cost for eradicating or clearing a minefield, which can be perhaps maybe the size of 2 football fields, but arable land, places where people have had their homes and schools and so on. And they say, well, some mines take $25,000, some $100,000, and we said, well, something in between. So we eventually, by elimination, picked on the small village of Pracha, which is 26 miles southeast of Sarajevo, small village, which was totally emptied of people during the Balkan War in the early 1990s. And about 500 people out of the 3,000 former in population have returned tentatively, but it is in such a dangerous situation that something has to be done. And so we picked Pracha, $34,000 to clear the minefield, and then we also at the same time got involved with the Marshall Legacy Institute and the training of dogs, the Canine Demining Corps. I have a brochure of it here. These are dogs specially trained, and some of them are trained in Somerset, Texas, to be able to sniff the explosive in the mine, because a metal detector could be detecting all sorts of metal, but some mines are plastic, so they miss that. And the dog will detect the explosive and will sit down beside the mine, and then the handler can come along and find it. It's much quicker. I've seen them on video doing it.
So now, talk a little bit about the mechanics of the campaign. There are campaigns for adopt a this, that, and the other. What does it mean to adopt a minefield? What exactly are you asking the citizens of Austin, people of faith or not, to do?
Yeah. We're asking the citizens of Austin to donate money to the campaign, because the whole point of the campaign is not only the education, which we do to any group who wishes. We have excellent videos, we have a good presentation to tell people about it, but really we have to raise funds. And the wonderful thing about it is that you know that you're doing something that is immediately of value. You are you're saving lives, you're returning people to their homes, they're going to be able to resume their normal lives, which they might not otherwise do. So we're encouraging people, and I know that there's the address to Minefield campaign will come up on the screen, and people can donate to us or call our number so that you can ask more about it.
And how exactly are you presenting the story of the need?
Well, as I have to, we present the story in our own brochure. We present the story of Pracha and there's a little bit inside the brochure about Pracha itself. And we have photographs. One way, in fact, in which people can see it, if you look up the national website, which is www.landmines.org, it tells all about the Adopt a Minefield campaign, and they have a whole photo section, because people, of course, have visited these places and have visited Bosnia. And we have taken some of those photographs for our local website. and we have a website, austinlandmines.org. And if you click onto austinlandmines.org, you learn about our campaign. There's even, it's made easy how you can donate to the campaign. And $50,000 in 4 months is, it's not too difficult in a way, and yet to get the word out. We're an all-volunteer organization, no paid staff.
Well, what has the response been so far? Because you've been campaigning for a while now.
Since September 21st. The response has been wonderful from people. We have had lots of checks. We unfortunately have not had enough checks in large enough sums of money. It takes a lot of $10, $25 checks to get to $50,000. So we're always very pleased and have a great hurrah when it's $100 or $500 or $1,000 check. And we're encouraging. We would love if there are some businesses in the Austin area, small or large, or people who perhaps have some little extra cash that they would like to feel they'd make a difference in somebody's life. And
I know that the Buddhist Peace Fellowship did a walking meditation to draw attention to the issue, which we'll get to in the second part of the show. I wonder what other response you've gotten from other faith groups.
Oh, wonderful. Over Christmas, one of the wonderful things was that we had a table at the International Holiday Market in Palmer Lane, was it, United Methodist Church. And at that time, people were able to give a gift of peace. We had bookmarks, and people bought bookmarks for any sum of money, and we were able to send them to people and say, a friend of yours has donated to the Adopt a Minefield campaign in your name, and here's a bookmark describing what the campaign is about. So we did that. Several other congregations, Temple Beth Israel in Austin had its own holiday bazaar. They featured the Adopt a Minefield campaign, and the teenage group were wonderful and made a wonderful display for us, and they raised a lot of money for us. St. Austin Catholic Church did also, the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. So quite a number of the faith groups have, and I have spoken at different places also throughout the city.
It strikes me as such a compelling issue. How can we turn aside from people who are hurting, sometimes because of what we have done? Now the campaign is over the official campaign is over in
the end of January, the end of this month.
And yes. After the end of January, then what can folks do?
Well, folks can we will still have our website up, and we still will have our office address, and people can still be sending us money. We would love if this became an educational tool. It's wonderful for young people to learn about global concerns through the United Nations Association. This very month, for example, in January, we will have the Model United Nations, the Model UN, and the Model UN in Austin, which this year will be at Austin High School, teaches young people that we just don't look inward to ourselves, our own country, but that we look outward, and we see that we can make a difference.
A kind of a ministry, actually. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary, for telling us about the importance of the campaign. We'll come back in the second half and talk about the Buddhist Peace Fellowship and its involvement. And we thank you for joining us on this first half of Austin Faith Dialogue. We'll be right back. glad you're here for the second half of Austin Faith Dialogue. We're talking about a sobering issue, the international concern about landmines, and how we here in Austin can make a difference in one small village, but make a difference in the lives of some people through participation in the Austin Adopt a Minefield campaign. And Mary Berwick, past president of the United Nations Association, you've been talking about the campaign, and now Pamela Overeinder from the Buddhist Peace Fellowship. Let's talk some about the Buddhist Peace Fellowship's involvement in this campaign, and specifically the walking meditation that the fellowship organized, which strikes me at least as a very quiet way to participate in what could be a very loud issue. How do Buddhists see that connection?
I love that juxtaposition, the explosion of landmines and walking very quietly. Yeah, that's really beautiful. We in the Buddhist community a number of us have been working with how we can become socially engaged in the world in a way that is consistent with our ethics, our Buddhist ethics. And many of us have been peace activists in the past and felt that there was a lot of violence within the peace community against ourselves and each other, and a lot of divisiveness. And so we've been looking really how can we be active in the world and do that consistent with our Buddhist values.
And so what we're seeing on the screen now are some scenes of the meditation. Describe what's happening here.
Well, we started walking, and we're walking, as you can see, very slowly. We're walking in silence, and we're just really enjoying the contact of our feet on the cement, and being very grounded in the present moment, being very present to this experience of walking together. People have been given a bit of information about the landmine campaign, so they're aware. I think most of them are aware, really, that the campaign about the situation with landmines around the world, and aware of the pracha, that we're fundraising for pracha to clear the landmines. It's such a wonderful thing because we feel really impotent when the war is going on. We feel so impotent as citizens, as individuals. And here's an opportunity for us to come together and witness. So I think we're witnessing as we walk. We're witnessing the suffering, and coming together in this silent witness. And
what's the symbolism of the walking? Some of us, for instance, if we were involved in social activities, we might sit down and write a letter, or we might participate in a protest, or some kind of action like that. I suspect that there's some symbolism behind the walking.
Well, there is, and actually walking meditation is a very ancient practice. It's a meditation practice, and of course, as you could see, we were walking in silence and walking slowly. It goes back well before the time of the historical Buddha, which was 2,600 years ago. And it's a practice which cultivates compassion and a peaceful nature. That's the purpose of this practice. And so we have the opportunity to see the suffering in the world and to stand with that suffering, and to embrace the path of not knowing, because I think a big mistake we make in trying to fix the world is that we know what to do. We really don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm discovering every day what it means to be a peace activist, to be a peacemaker in the world. So by slowing and calming, we have an opportunity to see what is the peaceful step.
And then in the practice of Buddhism, does a walking meditation lead to action? Is that the direction that the walk is supposed to point one?
Well, in a sense, the walk is an action itself. In other words, we're trying to redefine, in some sense, what is action. If we get quiet, if we become calm, if we're able to see with our wisdom mind, then we may take a very different kind of action from the action we might have taken if we were acting out of a sense of urgency or a sense of anger or rage. So it allows us to, in a sense, really distill down to what would be useful, what would be a useful action in this situation that we're faced with, moment to moment.
And does the Buddhist Peace Fellowship in town then organize a walking meditation for a variety of issues? Or was this in some way, this campaign, so unique that the meditation was organized?
Well, this actually is the second meditation that we've organized around Bosnia, actually. About a year and a half ago, many of us felt so just at a loss what to do about this terrible war in Bosnia. How can we, as Buddhists, how can we as people who care about peace in the world, what can we do? And we realized that there was a lot of divisiveness, and there was a lot of, this side is taking sides. We searched for a way to be present to the suffering at the same time to not knowing what to do. We really didn't know. I don't think we know today. We're discovering what to do and what makes a difference for peace. But so we did this walking meditation for all the people of the Balkans, not just for the Serbs, not just for the Croatians, not for everyone, the UN forces that were there, the soldiers on both sides, the people on both sides. And it was very powerful. It was a very powerful witness. And it was very liberating to say we don't know what the right answer is, but we know that that violence is not a response to more violence, is not helpful.
I assume, at least from what we have just seen, the video clip, that a walking meditation is done out in public. So I wonder what the reaction of others is as they see a group of people walking very slowly, not saying anything. What does the public say or do in response?
Well, I found them to be, and Mary, share your perceptions about this too, but I found them to be very respectful. We were at the Capitol. It was a very busy day. It was a beautiful day. There were lots of children playing around, children playing on cannons, for heaven's sakes. And people taking pictures and milling around. They were very respectful. They walked past us, and I thought, with a great deal of respect and interest, but not wanting to barge in. Obviously, something unique was happening.
And you, as a Christian, participated,
Mm-hmm.
Mary. So what was your reaction to the experience?
Well, I had participated in the first one, and so couldn't wait for the second one. It is a very wonderful and liberating experience. We were, if people can imagine, and you've seen the pictures, we were at the south side steps of the Capitol, and there we had on easel the poster that you've seen and some other statements. We had some fake imitation landmines, and we had, various pieces of literature. And we left those sitting there in order to walk down the walkway in the middle of the Capitol, right down to where the Christmas tree was, and turn around and come back up again, very, very slowly. And for me, in the silence, the silence is wonderful. You hear bird song, you hear children laughing, you hear, conversations. And it fills me with gratitude for life, I must say, for the ability to walk, for the ability to be safe where I'm walking, to realize that people are not. So and I love when Pamela says that it is, in a sense, uniting ourselves with people who are suffering. And so we were, one of the things, there's very little ritual of any sort apart from the very slow walking. And we're told at the beginning not to have a big space between you. Be conscious of the person beside you. And you are, though you was somebody you don't know and you've never spoken. But when we finished at the very end of it, and this woman turned to me and said, "Thank you for walking with me." I said, "Thank you." We were conscious of each other. Mm. And at certain moments, we were walking very slowly, and then Pamela would tinkle big, invite a bell. Yes, there'd be just the tiniest tinkle, which was sort of so easy to hear because we were so quiet. And we were to stop. And when we stopped, then we thought about Pracha or landmines or people suffering or children with the prosthesis or whatever. One statistic I didn't say at the beginning, which is so startling, is that every 22 minutes somebody is maimed or killed by a landmine.
A lot to meditate on.
While we've been here.
And Pamela, before we finish, I want to be sure to get to a story I believe you have about a Cambodian monk.
Oh, yeah, this is so inspiring. In Cambodia also, of course, has, as Mary said, a huge number of landmines. And I don't know if it's true, if the Civil War is still going on, but if it's not, it has ended very recently. And this marvelous Buddhist teacher and monk has been leading walking meditations across mine-strewn fields in Cambodia for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And they started this as a way of reconciling the country, the different factions in the country. And it's become quite large now, and I think 600 people maybe are walking, and it's a month-long walk. And they walk across Cambodia, and they've been trained how to identify landmines so that they don't actually step on one. And they go from community to community, and they talk to the local people and share the Dharma with them, the teachings, the Buddhist teachings with them, and create a sense of compassion and a sense of cooperation and reconciliation amongst the people, so that when peace does come at the governmental level, people will already be leading the way. And it's a beautiful walk, and they've done it year after year. And I don't think that anyone's ever stepped on a landmine, but certainly people have been shot in crossfire between opposing forces.
I do believe that all of us now, as we walk, will walk much more carefully, thinking about what a difference it makes that we live here and not in some place that does have landmines. So, because of the urgency, Mary, one more time, tell us what people can do.
People can write a check and send it to the Adopt a Minefield campaign at 1212 Guadalupe, Suite 105, Austin, Texas 78701. People can also pray for both the people of Pracha and for ourselves in this campaign, and that we will achieve the money we need, the $34,000 for Pracha and the $16,000 for our own dog that will be bought, probably be named Austin. He certainly will have a tag on him to say that he comes from Austin, and when he's trained he will go into the field.
And I hope folks will call on the two of you for further stories. Thank you both, and thank you for joining us today on Austin Faith Dialogue. We'll see you again here next week.